Hey there, party people! It's been a bit since I last talked about bloodplus, and people seem to like me talking about bloodplus, and there's somehow still more bloodplus for me to talk about. So far, I've covered the anime and the main manga, so the next logical step is to talk about the manga spin-offs, of which there are two. Honestly, I'm still just floored by how much content there is of this series. I'm guessing it was really hype in Japan during the time it was released, and then just kind of petered out in the States. It's not a terrible series by any means, I just found the anime to be a bit lackluster. Though, while I stand by what I said in the video, I was admittedly on the harsh side with my anime review. Still, this is oddly one of those series that seems to have been almost wholly lost to time, despite how much was made for it. It's honestly that spurs me on to talk about it more than anything else, because I do think it should get some recognition. It has a fun world with great concepts, even if I don't agree with a lot of the execution, which is touched upon in the spin-offs. I don't think it was ever going to have the cultural staying power of, say, Code Geass or Death Note, but still, there are certainly fans out there, and I just sort of want to make this for them, and maybe the new fans that check out the series for themselves after watching these videos. Now, onto the manga themselves, starting with bloodplus Kowloon Knights, mostly because I have less to say about this one, all things considered. Now, that isn't a dig at the manga, at least not a big one, it's just that it's a very simple premise, being only a single volume. Basically, mangaka Hirotaka Kisaragi took a look at Haji and made the logical conclusion of putting him into yaoi situations. The story is set in Hong Kong, slightly before the start of the bloodplus series proper, where Haji is still searching the world for where the Red Shield had taken Saya. So he's just off, gallivanting, following Chiropteran sightings and attacks. Somehow. Not really sure how he gets around, but I guess that's not the most important thing. Anyway, in Hong Kong, police officer Nishi Tatsuyoshi is investigating mysterious murders, where bodies drained completely of blood have been spotted outside of the Kowloon walled city. However, Red Shield steps in and pushes the police force off the case, spearheaded by a man named Isaac. Nishi is an 80s action movie cop though, so he still investigates anyway, going to Kowloon walled city to find clues and ends up finding two, despite no one having found anything for months. Because, you know, plot needs to happen. Though one clue is less egregious because it's Haji, who saves Nishi's life from a Chiropteran, and in turn, Nishi saves Haji's life by taking him to his apartment because he weirdly looks like his brother who died in the Gulf War. Nishi has hang-ups over his brother's death due to his regrets of not trying to stop him from leaving. And his death was likely caused by a Chiropteran because, of course it was. Haji strangely bonds with Nishi, like, he willingly stays in the guy's apartment simply because he was asked to, even though he could have just left. Granted, Haji still has hang-ups over the Vietnam War, as one does. So, while he is actively looking for Saya, he is also afraid of finding Saya. So, that might be part of it, and I'm okay with that because I like Haji with layers. Anyway, the whole Chiropteran situation seems to be some kind of offshoot of what Van was doing in the main series. But it's run by the Wong family, a crime syndicate working on some immortality drug. Unfortunately for them, failed versions of this drug turns them into a horrific, blood-drinking, mindless monstrosity, instead of turning them into the one who knocks.
Yep.
Isaac finds out about Haji and wants to put him in a cage because free roaming for several decades without any sort of incident means that he is a clear and present danger. Nishi, on the other hand, trusts him implicitly because, yeah, a guy who saved your life twice and had multiple opportunities and the ability to kill you but didn't is definitely a good guy. That sounds sarcastic, but I am being genuine here. Nishi actually has a very good head on his shoulders. Trust the pretty man, for he is pretty. Anyway, by the end, Isaac and Nishi have to work together to save a weakened Haji who was captured by the Wong family. Isaac goes out in a blaze of glory, telling Haji that Saya is in Okinawa, and Nishi lets Haji drink his blood and tells him to go find Saya, get the piece that he is unable to get with his dead brother. And yeah, that's basically where the manga ends. 100% could have been gayer. Like, it was just gay enough to scratch the itch you want when reading boys love, but it could have scratched just a bit harder, you know? It was also really hard to get this manga. It's on eBay for $70 and over, but thankfully someone had eventually put it up for auction at $40. I was very confident I was going to be the only person that would buy this manga, but I was wrong. One person tried to cite me for it, but I am a cautious bidder and set mine at $50, which was the highest I was willing to spend on it no matter what. My luck ain't just for gacha, but it is only for anime. Now, in a perfect world, I would be saying that bloodplus Adagio is bloodplus if it was Yuri, but no! I have to do that myself! I have to commission art of Saya and Kaori, and continue fantasizing about the possibilities of Kaori being a chevalier in a what-if scenario. This video gets 200 likes and I will make that video, I swear to Christ. Anyway, onto the actual point of the video. Bloodplus Adagio is by Kumiko Suikane and takes place in Russia at the very end of the Romanov dynasty. And you know what that means. Now, the events of this manga were lightly alluded to in a flashback scene in the anime, and all that happens is a prelude to that scene. This seems to be Saya's first true mission as a weapon against Diva and the Chiropterans. So it's interesting to see her act like how she does in the beginning of the anime when she has amnesia. Though, unlike then, here she is able to buckle down and do what she has to even though she hates it. Haji and Saya are infiltrating as musicians so that they can hunt down Chiropteran activity that they expect to be happening, given the shadiness surrounding Grigory Rasputin, who looks like this, by the way. A wildly pretty man. Anyway, the plot is that Rasputin is giving various people medicine, aka Diva's blood, to try and turn them into chevaliers like himself and Haji. He seems like his ultimate goal is to have this utopian peace, wanting to uplift humans, as it were, so that Chiropteran no longer need to be hunted. Of course, he has zero moral qualms about the loss of human life, but it is still an interesting idea. It is a similar goal to Diva and Amshel wanting only Chiropteran in the world, but with a slightly more altruistic spin to it, all things considered, though also to the end of wanting to dispose of failures. He actually tricks Saya into doing it by giving her forged letters from Red Shield. However, these experiments are not fully transformed yet. So when Saya cuts down her first target, a sweet girl she had just befriended named Claudia, all she sees is a human corpse. And that is the closest thing to Yuri that I'm getting in this manga. But in all seriousness, that is mainly what throws Saya off kilter. She already had reservations of killing people even if they had turned into Chiropteran, but that just really shakes her to her core, understandably so. The plot continues with Rasputin pulling strings in the background and wooing the Empress, tending to Alexei, who is mostly seen playing with his dear sister Anastasia. Rasputin also manages to capture Haji, and the Haji gets impaled drinking game returns with a vengeance. Rasputin does try to convince him to join their side, using the logic of, hey, if you two kill all of us for the humans are just going to kill you. And in the interest of helping Saya, Haji is tempted to help Rasputin. However, he does come to the conclusion that while Rasputin spouts peace and salvation, and maybe even believes it slightly, his methods are horrifically inhuman. And through all of this, David is here. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. There must always be a David in Red Shield. No family name, only David. Anyway, more importantly, Anastasia apparently died before the manga even started because she got body swapped with Diva. So this entire time, Diva's just been having fun playing the part of the princess and loving older sister of Alexei, until she gets bored and breaks her toy, only to actually put him back together again, making Alexei a chevalier. Meanwhile, the whole assassination plot with Rasputin goes down, though actually orchestrated by Amshel, who was tired of his shit and ultimately tossed him into the river before going to collect Diva before she could cross paths with Saya. And of course, to add more chaos, Diva ends up singing, causing all of the people Rasputin had given her blood to begin transforming, leading Saya to push herself into a mass slaughter. During this time is when she resolves that she wants Haji to kill her when this is all over, to which Haji very reluctantly agrees. At the end, Saya is confronted by Alexei, who she ends up killing in a fit of pure rage, and a dying Rasputin meets the woman that he body snatches in the anime, and the Bolshevik Revolution happens. Overall, I found these two volumes to be pretty compelling to read. It had just the right amount of political intrigue that you'd want from a story surrounding the fall of the Romanov dynasty without overpowering Saya's story. And I do very much enjoy Saya's story in this. She strikes the perfect balance of not wanting to do what she has to, while also having the resolve to still go through with it. And the setup with Claudia gives a very good reason for her resolve to take a massive hit and cause her to hesitate in later moments. And when she is finally faced with a mass of chiropteran, and she steels herself for the fight, the look on her face is so beautifully haunting, like she forced herself into a trance of pure anguish. I've ultimately come to appreciate that Saya is an incredibly sensitive person, but also one with a resolve like no other. And that is a very, very tricky line to tread, because there are times where you have to let her be overwhelmed, but then there are still times that you have to let her be able to swallow the pain and act in spite of it. It's the duality of the character, but the choices of how and when either side wins can be very easily make or break for the character, and I think that is part of where the anime did struggle at times, but it is done masterfully in this spin-off. Haji is also great in the story as well. He's a lot more expressive, while still keeping his more reserved charms as well. This could be attributed to him being younger and not traumatized by Vietnam yet, but I feel like he's really not too different from his manga counterpart. Though, overall, I'm unsure if this can tie into both the anime and the manga. Ultimately, I don't see why it wouldn't. The main difference between the two would be Diva, I suppose. Diva here does feel more malicious like her anime counterpart. In the manga, Diva is more like someone who just genuinely doesn't know right from wrong, though her interactions could probably be argued either way, so I'm fine saying that this happened in either continuity. I highly recommend reading these two volumes for all fans of the series, and they are also much easier to get if you want physical copies. Though that said, they are still more expensive than some people would be willing to pay for a manga. Funny enough, I did end up getting the second volume from Australia, and for the life of me, I can't remember my reasoning for doing it. But it was free shipping and not very costly, so whatever. Now, would you believe me that there is still more bloodplus content? There is a light novel based on the anime, a light novel based on the events of Adagio, and a light novel called Blush Hashtag or Blood Pound. I haven't heard it read out, so I'm not quite sure, but it follows Diva's twin daughters, so it's a sequel to the anime. Not to mention there are 4 video games as well. And look, 100 likes, and I'll cover one of the light novels. And if this gets over 5,000 views, I'll start working on a video about the games. This is the first time I'm putting genuine goalposts like these for a video, so let's see if it works. But that is all from me for now. Let me know down in the comments if you even knew these mangas existed, and be sure to subscribe for more anime content. With all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you next time in the void. Later.